everybody's like super excited during the film. There's clapping, there's laughter, lights come up, and then the conversations start about things that could have been better. And they're alleging that this is all coming from Janet Jackson. They said she talked about the makeup, the acting, even things small down to how people were walking in this movie. And at the theater, when the back and forth was happening, Jermaine Jackson told Janet, "You're going to miss this wave." He allegedly called her so jealous, and they said that there was a blunt exchange that stunned a lot of people in the room.
The Michael Jackson biopic just crossed $217 million at the box office at the time of this recording. This project has his mom in it, his brothers, and even his kids were involved behind the scenes. But the one person who grew up right beside Michael, the woman who sang with him and told him she loved him the last time she saw him, is completely missing from this film. Janet Jackson was asked to be part of it. She said no, and once you hear the reason why, it changes how this whole movie looks.
Did you miss not having Janet in the movie?
I wish everybody was in the movie.
Yeah.
So,
Did you try to convince her and say, let's do it?
well, she was asked and she kindly declined, so you have to respect her wishes.
Before getting into that, here is a quick breakdown of what is going on so everything makes sense. The Michael Jackson biopic is called Michael. It was directed by Antoine Fuqua, the same director behind Training Day and The Equalizer. The role of Michael is played by Jafar Jackson, his real nephew and Jermaine's son. The film follows Michael's life from his Jackson 5 days all the way to his rise in the 1980s. The movie includes Katherine Jackson, Joe Jackson, LaToya, and the original Jackson 5 brothers, Jackie, Tito, Jermaine, and Marlon. Here is something important. Jermaine Jackson is not just in the story, he's also one of the producers. His son is the lead actor. That means Jermaine is personally and financially connected to this project. On top of that, the Jackson estate helped produce the film and controls the rights to Michael's music and image. Reports say they got around $10 million up front, plus a possible 25% cut of the profits. That could turn into tens of millions more if the movie keeps bringing in money. Prince Jackson, Michael's son, also stepped in as an executive producer. When you look at the full lineup, almost every major name tied to this film has a financial reason to push it to win big. Then there's Janet. She built her own empire, her own money, her own legacy. She does not rely on this movie at all. And that detail hits harder than it seems. Now, the situation starts to look different. She was asked, and she said no. But the story goes much deeper than a simple refusal. At the Hollywood premiere held at the Dolby Theater, LaToya Jackson was asked straight up about Janet not being there, and she confirmed it without dodging. Janet was asked to be part of this movie, and she said no. Director Antoine Fuqua kept things smooth in public. He said he has a lot of respect and love for Janet, and that her support for Jafar is what really matters. Clean response, very controlled. But then, March 2026 hit, and everything started to shift. Page 6 released a report about what really happened during a private family screening. Around 60 members of the extended Jackson family showed up, and the second the lights came back on, Janet did not hold back at all. She went straight in on the movie, calling things out right away, and it quickly turned into a heated clash with Jermaine. LaToya later spoke on Entertainment Tonight and addressed that moment between Jermaine and Janet. So this was not about being too busy or dealing with a schedule issue or just politely stepping away. That excuse does not hold up here. She watched the film, she had real issues with it, and she and Jermaine went head to head over it. That changes the whole energy around the situation.
However, sources say the atmosphere changed quickly when Janet began to loudly criticize the work being shown. This has deeply upset Jermaine because his son is the person playing the lead role in the film. One source said Jermaine really has had it with Janet. He feels she causes way too much drama and thinks she's completely unprofessional at an event meant to honor his son alongside Michael.
Now, here's the part nobody really wants to say out loud. The money angle is sitting right there, but most headlines keep avoiding it. Every major person tied to this movie has a financial reason to see it win big. The Jackson estate reportedly made around $10 million up front just for co-producing and licensing Michael's music. On top of that, a 25% profit deal could pull in over $40 million more, depending on how the movie performs worldwide. Prince Jackson is listed as an executive producer, Jermaine Jackson is deeply involved, and his son is the one playing Michael. These are not just emotional ties, these are business roles with real money on the line. Now, compare that to Janet's position. She built her own career, completely separate from Michael's path. She does not pull income from the Jackson estate. She is not tied to anyone's payroll on this project. She does not need a single dollar from this film. And that changes everything. That makes her the only major family member connected to the situation who had nothing to lose by speaking up. Everyone else had a reason to stay quiet, keep things smooth, and make sure the movie succeeded. Janet did not have that pressure, so when something did not sit right with her, she spoke on it without holding back. Now here's where things take a serious turn. There is a part of this story that most people have not heard, and it shifts how this entire biopic looks. The version of the movie people see now is not how it was first created. The original cut was meant to spend a big portion of its final act focused on the allegations that followed Michael during the 1990s. That was planned to be a major piece of the story. But then, attorneys for the Jackson estate found a legal issue that changed everything. Back in 1994, when Michael settled with Jordan Chandler, one of his accusers, there was a clause included that blocks Jordan Chandler from being shown or even mentioned in any movie or TV project ever. Once that clause was discovered, everything changed fast. The entire third act of the film had to be scrapped and rebuilt from the ground up. The cast had to return for 22 more days of filming just to create a completely new ending. The estate covered all of those costs, which also explains why they now hold an equity stake in the film on top of the licensing deal. Now, here is where it gets even more noticeable. The movie ends in 1988. That is 5 years before the first allegations ever became public. So the film completely skips over that entire period without addressing it. Dan Reed, the Emmy-winning director behind Leaving Neverland, watched the film and spoke out. He said it presents a false narrative about a man he believes harmed young people. Then, Paris Jackson, Michael's daughter, took things even further with her reaction. Here is what really stands out when everything is looked at together. Paris Jackson and Janet Jackson were two of the women closest to Michael in the family. They are also the two who are not connected to the estate's payroll, and they are the exact two who stepped away from this movie. That does not feel random at all.
It's Hollywood, so it's fantasy land. It's not real, but it's sold to you as real, and a lot of sugar-coated. Like, the narrative is being controlled, and there's a lot of inaccuracy, and there's a lot of just full-blown lies. And at the end of the day, like, that doesn't really fly with me. I don't really like dishonesty. I spoke up. I wasn't heard. I fucked off. That's it.
A lot of people assume Janet is moving out of pure loyalty, like she is protecting Michael's legacy no matter what. It sounds nice, but the reality is more layered than that. Janet and Michael were not as close as many people believe. In her 2022 A&E and Lifetime documentary titled Janet Jackson, she opened up about their relationship, and some of those details caught people off guard. She shared that while they were growing up, Michael would say hurtful things about her weight. He called her a pig and a cow. Those are not light comments that just disappear over time. Words like that can stay with someone for years. So yes, there was love there, but it was also complicated and not picture perfect. It was not the kind of flawless sibling bond that has often been shown to the public.
Now, Janet Jackson said her brother teased her about her weight gain, Michael Jackson, and called her names. And she said there were times when Mike used to tease me and call me pig, horse, slaughter hog, cow. He would laugh about it and I'd laugh too, but there was something down inside that would hurt.
Here's another detail that deserves attention. Janet co-produced her documentary with her brother, Randy, not Jermaine. Randy is also missing from the biopic, and reports say Randy and Jermaine have had tension going all the way back to the 1990s. So when Janet is on one side and Jermaine is on the other, this is not some sudden disagreement. That divide in the family has been building for years. It didn't just appear out of nowhere. Now here is a piece of context that really adds weight to Janet's reactions when she feels pushed aside or handled unfairly. Go back to February 2004. Janet performed at the Super Bowl halftime show with Justin Timberlake. During the performance, Timberlake pulled on part of her outfit, exposing her on live television in front of a massive audience. Janet's team said the plan was to reveal a red bra underneath. But what actually happened caught her off guard, and you could see the shock on her face. Right after the performance, a blanket was rushed out to cover her. She was clearly shaken in that moment. Then, things escalated fast. What followed was a major backlash that hit her career hard. Janet went on national television and gave a public apology. That is something Justin Timberlake was not required to do. And that difference did not go unnoticed.
My decision to change the Super Bowl performance was actually made after the final rehearsal. MTV, CBS, the NFL had no knowledge of this whatsoever. And unfortunately, the whole thing went wrong in the end. I am really sorry if I offended anyone.
Her next album, Demi et Joe, ended up becoming her lowest-selling project since 1984. Radio stations started pulling her music, acting opportunities disappeared almost overnight. She eventually left her label, Virgin Records. Meanwhile, Justin Timberlake went on to headline the Super Bowl again in 2018. Solo performance, no fallout, no public apology required. That contrast stood out in a major way. The New York Times documentary, Malfunction, The Dressing Down of Janet Jackson, broke down how everything unfolded. It showed how media outlets, TV executives, and the public placed the blame almost entirely on Janet, while letting him walk away untouched. Janet has already experienced what happens when she relies on the industry to back her up. It did not happen. So trusting a biopic controlled by people with financial stakes to protect her, or even present a balanced story about her brother, would not come easy. Now here's the part that connects everything. This is where the situation starts to make more sense. The strongest theory, based on everything surrounding the situation, is that Janet walked into that private screening expecting one major thing. She wanted this film, with all its reach and influence, to directly address the Leaving Neverland accusations and defend Michael on screen. Think about what this film had in its hands. A huge budget, a major studio backing it, a full cast, an Emmy-winning director, and one of the biggest cultural moments tied to Michael Jackson since his death in 2009. If there was ever a moment to make a strong public statement defending him, this was it. But instead of taking that route, tens of millions of dollars and 22 days of reshoots went into making sure those accusations were not included at all. That choice stands out. They did not try to clear his name on screen. They removed the topic completely. At the same time, in 2025, Dan Reed released Leaving Neverland 2, Surviving Michael Jackson, in the United Kingdom. The conversation around these accusations has not faded. It has continued to grow while this film was being made. And the movie's response was to end the timeline in 1988 and skip over the entire 1990s. That decision speaks loudly. Janet once shared that the last words she said to Michael were, "I love you." He replied, "I love you too, Dunk." That was the final moment they had together. That memory stays with her. So when someone who shared that kind of bond reacts strongly to how his story is being told, it raises real questions about what is being shown and what is being left out. So when you step back and look at everything together, the picture starts to feel a lot clearer. This is not just about one movie or one disagreement. It is about control, money, and who gets to shape the story that millions of people will believe. On one side, you have a film backed by the estate, family members with financial stakes, and a version of events that avoids the most controversial chapters. On the other side, you have Janet, someone with nothing to gain financially, choosing to speak up after seeing it for herself. That contrast is hard to ignore. It raises a bigger question about what audiences are actually watching. Is it a full story, or is it a carefully selected version designed to protect a legacy? And this is where things get even more intense, because once a story like this is released on a global scale, it becomes the version many people accept as truth. So Janet stepping away and calling it out is not just a personal decision. It shifts how people start to question everything around this film. And this is where the situation really starts to hit different. Because once a film like this is out in the world, it does more than entertain. It shapes how people remember someone, especially for younger audiences who did not live through those moments. For many viewers, this movie might become their first impression of Michael Jackson's life story. That means whatever is left out can be just as powerful as what is included. That kind of influence is not small. Now look at it from Janet's perspective. She sits through that private screening, watching a version of her brother's life that skips over some of the most talked about and controversial years, a version shaped by people with business interests tied to its success. That kind of situation can create real tension, not just about accuracy, but about trust and control over a legacy that still sparks debate around the world. So when her reaction comes out strong, it is not just emotion. It connects to something bigger about how stories are told, who tells them, and what gets left behind. At the end of the day, this situation is bigger than just Janet saying no to a movie. It is about who controls the narrative and how history gets presented to the public. Some people will watch this film and see it as a celebration of Michael's talent and legacy. Others will notice what is missing and start asking questions about why certain parts were left out. Both reactions can exist at the same time. What makes the story stick is the tension behind it. A global icon, a powerful estate, family members with different positions, and one voice choosing not to go along with it. That creates a split that people cannot ignore. And the truth is, once something like this is released, it keeps shaping opinions for years. New audiences will come in, watch it, and form their own views based on what they see. Now, the question moves to you. After hearing all of this, how do you see it? Do you think the film told the full story, or do you think something important was left out? If you found this breakdown interesting, make sure to like, subscribe, share, and drop your thoughts in the comments.